think it's funny when we clap. Even though Billy assures me we don't need to clap. Okay.
Are we gonna start recording?
Oh shoot, I'm having an error on Audacity. Oh, don't do this to me. This happens sometime. Oh shoot, no. I just clicked quit.
Well, I've clicked record, so it's recording me.
All right, I need to close Audacity and then open it again.
Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna stop.
Okay.
And I'll just open up a new one.
Okay. Oh, now we're going. Okay.
Oh, hang on a minute.
Unnecessary clap that Billy doesn't need, or does he? I don't know.
We'll do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway, regardless of whether we need to or not.
Do you like the one ear out? I think I like hearing you in full stereo.
I like the one ear out because having both ears covered really messes with my brain, where everything sounds muffled.
Yeah, I can't hear myself.
Yeah, and it's really hard to hear.
Oh, this is like boring. We should not talk about this.
I know, sorry.
Hi,
Karen.
Hi. I recorded and then forgot promptly that I was recording. Lucy Bryden, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Let's have a cheers. I need like
cheers.
Let's get this party started. Clink.
Cheers.
I love you, girlfriend.
I love you too.
Oh.
Do you know what day it is today?
Friday?
Not just Friday.
What is it?
Which is why we're both drinking.
Yes, we are.
It's the anniversary of the Battle of Culloden.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? It's too bad we're not actually talking about that today.
I know. I did. It was funny when we started this podcast, I did think in my head, certain things could be talked about coming up to certain dates. So for example, we could have an episode on Rabbie Burns leading up to Burns Night, which I don't know if you know about Burns Night. That's the night that we all eat haggis, neeps and tatties and recite Burns poems to each other.
Oh, that's cool.
And then also the Battle of Culloden and things like that. But yeah, I forgot about it. But we are recording on the 16th of April. Obviously it's going to be released a little bit later than that, but it is the 275th anniversary of the Battle of Culloden.
It feels like
you've been there, haven't you?
I have been there. I have some amazing photos that I took there. I was into Instagram, I think, at that time, which I'm worse at it now, but I'm just using the little Instagram filters to focus on the marked headstones, I guess, if you will, of the clans. I don't know what else to call them. And then just having like the blurred edges around with the clarity of the clans' names in the center. It's very moving. That whole memorial is very, very touching.
It's quite a spooky place, isn't it? Apparently it is super haunted.
Oh.
I have heard stories of people saying that people have seen
things,
like going across the battlefield.
At night. So sad.
That wouldn't surprise me because it is a place filled with deep trauma and lots of murder, so it wouldn't surprise, because I think, aren't there some battlefields in the United States that are supposed to be quite super haunted? Isn't it Gettysburg?
I think so. And I need to get better at looking into these things, but I think that's what I'm excited for this podcast to, I think, lead into, sort of like some discoveries on the United States side in terms of like hauntings and folkloric creatures and the things that I have not yet discovered. But I do know there's, especially for whatever reason in the South, I feel like the South has more Confederate ghosts than, say, the North, probably just because that's where most of the fighting occurred. But
where most of the battles were. For sure. I know that I did a few years ago go down a bit of a YouTube rabbit hole of looking at ghost YouTube videos. Probably 99.9% of them are faked, but they're still really interesting.
Yeah.
And there was quite a cool one of, I don't think it was it Gettysburg? What's another really famous American battlefield?
Oh God, you're putting me right on the
Come on.
spot.
I know your history.
So bad. They're right on the tip of my tongue. This is so embarrassing. I don't know.
Don't
Lucy.
Google it. Don't Google it. That's cheating.
I'm having another drink to kill.
Well, there was a video of, let's just call
Manassas. We'll say Manassas.
Isn't that?
That's in Virginia.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a battle.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was.
How smart I am.
Was that not that? I thought that was the second name of Jackie Kennedy after she remarried.
Oh my God! I'm just gonna drink my disgusting.
What was her second name after she?
Was it? I don't know. You're asking me all these questions. I don't know the answer.
I thought it was it's Onassis, Jackie.
I'm showing up to talk about Scotland, not the United States.
Sorry,
it's not what I'm here for.
Anyway, those videos had these figures going across the road that looked like they were totally faked videos, but I found it absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
And I have heard that it's haunted like that at Culloden, which wouldn't surprise me. It would be interesting to go there at night on the anniversary of the battle. I mean, obviously it's a visitor center, so it's probably not open. I don't know how easy it is to enter from other parts, or whether it's fenced off and you can't go into it unless you pay and go through the entrance, which would mean that you couldn't actually get in and camp out overnight or anything like that. I don't know, because it needs to be preserved. There was an awful lot of hoo-ha online a little while ago, because don't laugh at my
well, when I say hoo-ha, it usually means like a vagina.
What?
What? A hoo-ha is like a vagina. So when you say there was lots of hoo-ha, I'm just thinking vagina. I'm just being honest. So that's why I'm laughing.
That's not what it is here. A hoo-ha here is a big fussing each other and a
not a vagina.
Not a vagina.
I'm so glad we got
Can you imagine? I said it was a big hoo-ha. That's oh my God, we've not even 5 minutes.
Well, it's so funny. I'm just laughing because I always say that, like, you know, like I have like a female dog, and it's always awkward. We're like petting her, and then she'll like she'll just go and sort of like licking herself. We're like, I'm always like, oh, awkward. Like, you don't just go lick your hoo-ha. And then just last night, Max, my 12-year-old, said it. He's like, don't lick your hoo-ha in front of me. That was the first time I heard him say it. And I was like, oh, it's so cute. He keeps saying my word. Here we are. We might have to edit this entire
I think
7 minutes section right out.
You know, if you are listening for the first time, you need to go back and listen to previous episodes, and then you'll realize that this is nothing new.
No one listens to episode 2, and that's the funniest one. Lucy's all, what's that? Just a corridor, Karen. A corridor is that's why would I know what a corridor is? Because clearly that's not a normal word. Forever that will make me laugh.
Well, I never want to make assumptions because you didn't know what a hoo-ha meant. So
you didn't know what a hoo-ha meant. Oh, what were we even talking about? Oh, I'm sorry.
But it's not even that important anymore because it's a little bit boring. But it was just about Culloden and how there was a big hoo-ha about can't say that word now without thinking about vaginas, about people wanting to develop houses nearby, and how it's actually this historic battlefield that should be not only preserved there but preserved round about it. There's like other, so Clava Cairns is really close to Culloden, but there's also this weird sort of I think it's called the Clutie tree. I'm not sure. Maybe I should do an episode on it at some point. But it's a witchy thing. It's like a fairy thing where people go and they hang cloths in the tree, and it's about superstition and good luck, and that's really close to Culloden too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And we saw those stone circles as well.
Yeah, that's the clavicairns, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where we did the fake, like, Jamie, where are you? And blah, blah, blah. But there's like 1 million of those in Scotland, like 500, literally. Which is just amazing. And in these little Scotland, A Very Peculiar Histories, Volume 1, they do such a good job of really giving you, actually, they know quite a lot about those stones. Like, I was always under the impression for some reason that was like, ooh, there's these big stones, and like no one really knows like what they were there and who put them there. And this actually gives you quite a few answers of what who did put them there. And don't ask me to tell you because I don't remember now, but
well, I now have my own copy of that book, so I'm going to read it.
Yeah, I highly recommend. There are these little teeny tiny books. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm showing you right now. There's these little teeny tiny pocket-sized books called Scotland, A Very Peculiar History, volumes 1 and 2 by Fiona MacDonald, and they are fan-frickin-tastic. I'm like sitting up all night reading my little teeny tiny.
Yeah, it's like a little condensed encyclopedia of
fascinating.
Scotland. So hopefully now we've both got copies. We won't get our facts wrong anymore.
I know, right? Anymore. Maybe we'll know something someday thanks to these books. But I do have this. I have to share this with you because I think it's hilarious. If you're Scottish, you might not think that this is hilarious, so I have to be a little bit careful. However, on page 8 of the first one, and it's the same map in this volume 2. On page 8, also on page 8, there is a list of 20, volume 1 is 20 items, volume 2 is 21 items, 20 like significant things in Scottish history. And so the list is called Putting Scotland on the Map, and it lists 20 things of significance throughout.
There's only 20 significant things.
20, like just like rounding up to like just do the top 20 in entire history. And then it has a little map. On the next page is a little map, and then it has the numbers, right? So it's like number 1, 3100 BC, stone houses at Skara Brae, and then you can find little 1, whatever. So on this, in volume 1, so this is literally from history starting back in 3100 BC to the present day. Which is this? This is volume 1, right? Yeah. Let's see. What number is that? Oh, number 13, the year 1692 is the massacre at Glencoe, where the MacDonald clan members are killed by the Campbells, loyal to London.
Campbells.
So when I went, and that is number 14, it shows up on both lists. So in volume 2, it actually goes back to 12,000 BC to the present day, and the massacre at Glencoe also shows up on this list of number 14 as one of the most memorable, horrific events to ever take place. And it's funny because my last name is Campbell, and my husband
Campbell.
Sean is.
He's only third of the way through her whiskey, and she already can't pronounce.
Did I say it wrong? Well, this just cracks me up because I am obsessed with all things Scotland, but I'm like 0% Scottish, whereas my husband is like 100% Scottish on both his mother and
both his sides.
Both he's Crawford and Campbell.
Wow.
Together, and he could give a rat's ass about, like, he just doesn't
He's
care.
a traitor. He's a traitor.
He's like, whatever, I'm just me, whatever. So we go to Scotland and we're on this tour. We are taking a tour, and our tour guide's name is Ross, and he is a MacDonald. And we're with our children on this tour with a bunch of like Japanese tourists and 5 Campbells riding this bus. through the valley of Glencoe, and he starts telling us about the massacre at Glencoe. And Sean knows all about it because his father went to Scotland. And long before, well, he's always known that I've had a weird like Scottish fetish. And so I was like, why don't you care? Like, what is wrong with you? And he was like, all I know is that my dad went there and he just said we killed a whole other clan and now everybody hates us. So whatever. So we were in Glencoe, and our tour guide like pulls Sean aside, and he's like a super, super nice guy, much younger, probably half Sean's age. And he like pulls him aside and he was like, dude, I just wanted to let you know, like, no hard feelings.
Because we do have long memories, us Scots.
Sean was like dying. He's like, I don't really have the heart to tell the guy, like, I literally don't give a shit. He was like, but he didn't want to be like disrespectful, but he's like literally like the most like detached, like, you know, like most tourists when they come to Scotland are like,
yeah,
I have the castle in my name, and like I'm here to like get in touch with my roots. And like he's the only person who shows up who's like, I literally don't give a shit about any of this at all. My wife's just crazy and like drags our family here against their will to go see this place. And it was hilarious because he was like, okay. Like, Ross is like dead serious. He's like, mate, like, I'm just letting you know, like it's cool.
Was he Scottish?
Scottish? 1,000%. Yeah. Full kill.
That sounds like, about right. We've got long memories, especially if it's against someone that's done us wrong, you know. Like
it was just the whole thing.
Don't get me started on the gripe that a lot of not most, but a lot of Scottish people still have over the English.
So right. But it was just the best. So I open up this. So we're like, you know, this is a couple of years later. And I'm like, let's just see what makes the top 20 most significant events in entire Scottish history. I'm like, oh, honey, look, 13, when you murdered everyone in the McDonald clan. He's like, I hate you so much. Anyways, I thought that was funny. But this is actually a good segue for what I'm going to talk about today.
I know, because you did touch on it last week, and you said that you were going to be talking about, now we're going to have to pronounce a bit of Gaelic this week, but
let's not
go for it. Go for it.
I'm going to do it. Okay, no, because I did look this up. Actually, that's what I was looking up right before we hopped on, was to just make sure I had my pronunciation right. So there's a whole series of fae water spirits that are let's just say like omens of death. So there seems to be, there's a lot of things that are associated with water.
We're a small country.
There's a lot of lochs in Scotland.
There's a lot of lochs, and there's a lot of islands, and there's a lot of water.
Yeah, and there's a lot of fae spirit creatures as well. I know. So I'm focusing on the Bean Nighe or the Bean Nighe. It depends on who is saying it, and there are a lot of variations. I'm going to say Bean Nighe because that seems to be the most like common pronunciation. As soon as I read the description of this, I was like, oh, this is mine. Like this will
because you do like definitely to find the most evil of creatures to talk about.
It's just totally bizarre. And I also want to talk about this one because I have like out-searched every single podcast and YouTube video and article that I've read about this. And what I find the most fascinating is that no one is laughing. No one is laughing about it, and it is freaking hilarious, which is why I demanded that you drink with me this episode, because it's hilarious, and I can't.
Is it funnier than mini eggshell?
100%. Yep. And corridor. And what is a corridor? Yep. It totally is, and I don't understand.
Ghosts with hot pants,
and I just don't understand. Yeah, why ghosts are not naked. And I can't understand why I want to know how these other podcasters are not laughing. Like, how can you get through this phrase without even a snicker or like a chuckle or a snide comment is impossible to me.
Test for me? Are you giving me some kind of challenge? Like,
I just
try not to laugh, Lucy. I'm going to see if you can listen to the whole thing without laughing.
If you want to make it a thing, I'll make it a thing, because I don't think that you. Oh, now it's on. Yep. Okay. But you need to drink first. Okay.
Here we go.
Get ready.
I'm not gonna win this.
Oh, you haven't even started that drink. What is that?
It's a gin and tonic.
It's a giant full drink.
It's a gin and tonic, because not only is Scotland really well known for its whiskies, but there's also loads of gins.
Yeah, your gin is so good. Your elderberry gin is my favorite. For sure. Okay, so I was looking into the Banshee because we had talked about doing that for our book. And so I was like, all right, well, I can do the Banshee. But the Banshee really is an Irish. It's really Irish. There's like a little, it's like Irish and like a little bit of Scotland carryover. But really, I feel like it belongs to the Irish. So I'm like, all right, well, we're not going to do that one because we're not one Irish, one not.
Is it the kind of thing that I kind of feel that that the term Banshee has just been adopted for that whole kind of genre, and people just assume that the Scottish one is Banshee as well, because I always assumed that Banshees were Scottish. I just didn't even realize that was more of an Irish thing. So,
well, upon my research, I would say that it is an Irish thing. I feel like the word Banshee has just become like a broader, like umbrella term for some of these women who, because there's so many different spirits and they're all sort of omens of death, that I think it's easy to just sweep them under the umbrella. But upon further research, now that I'm amassing this ridiculous collection of
your big binder folder,
I'm surrounded by like fairy book research.
I've been watching Parks and Rec recently.
Oh yeah,
it's so funny, and it's very Leslie Knope of you to have that big binder with like all the bits.
Look how big it is. We've only done 7 episodes and it's already this big.
Yeah.
So I think they do say like the Ben Nighe is a Highland Banshee, but I do think that Banshee is classically Irish, and it's basically just to give, we could do a whole nother episode. I'm not talking about the Banshee today. I am talking specifically about the Ben Nighe, but a Banshee in Ireland they're normally ancestors, but they're very much spirits that are attached to a family or specifically a clan. And actually, and specifically because I did a lot of research on the Banshee just so I could understand the difference between the two, and they are quite different, which is that they're only specifically attached to noble, wealthy Irish families.
Oh, really?
You couldn't be like a poor family and have a Banshee. Because a Banshees like originated from women keeners who were paid for their services in alcohol, which I find awesome, but interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind
they're like, keep drinking and keening, my friends. Like our Uncle Bob died or whatever. So that's basically was like the origin. It's kind of a long story, but I thought that was really interesting. But they are spirits, and they are associated with only specific old noble Irish families only, which is very different from the Ben Nighe. So that's what I'm going to get into now.
Do you think that whole blanket term of Banshee also possibly came about because the word Banshee is easier to pronounce?
Well, yeah, and it's like popularized in like DC Comics, and like it became like mainstream through modern movies and comics books like that. So yes, I think it's just become like a bigger word, like ghost. You know what I mean?
It's what's fascinating about all the fairy folklore of Scotland is there are so many different subspecies.
Yes, there are.
That the more that you look into it, there are so many different ones that really most popular culture only focuses on a few, but there's actually so many of them.
Oh, so many. And sometimes I'll have like a momentary freak out, like, how are we gonna have this podcast once a week? Like I'm gonna run out in like 5 minutes. And then I have this, I'm staring at this book on my desk right now.
I've got that one too.
Yeah, the New Dictionary of Fairies, and there's like a million. I'm like, okay, never mind. We're never gonna run out ever of things to talk about. So, the way that the Bean Nighe is differentiated from a Banshee is that number one, she is attached to, it is like a body of water, whereas the Banshee, that's not even a thing.
Okay,
like there's just completely not related. So you will only find her at a body of water, and she's literally washing clothes. Like she's not hanging out. She's called the washerwoman, is what she is called, and she's always washing clothes. And
is she dead?
She is a spirit, yes. So she's originated. The story is that she is generally a woman who has died in childbirth.
Okay.
So she is like a ghost, basically, but also a fairy. Like it's like also though of a fae, it's like that fine line. Remember you were talking about this, and when you're talking about the green lady, saying that there's also like a fae element to that. That whole otherworldly plus kind of ghost is that sometimes they kind of almost intersect, and I feel like this is the same sort of thing,
because there's that whole thing of them, there being conflicting stories about what the fae actually were, whether they were a whole other species of being, or whether they were a spirit form or a ghost form, or even, like I said last week, about being people from like fallen angels as such, like people that were banished from heaven. So there's loads of crossover between
there is. And I also find the color green coming up. It just as in the green lady, is that they're often wearing green as well. So I know, and I remember,
I wonder what it was with the color green.
I know, and I do remember when I was doing our like dorky tourist ghost tour. Actually, it wasn't even the ghost tour because my kids were there. We didn't do the ghost tour when I had my kids with us. It was just like a historical tour of Edinburgh we did. And
I'd love to do a ghost tour of Edinburgh.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, next time you come over to visit me, we are going on a ghost tour of Edinburgh.
Well, the first time I was my first trip there when I was like 20, I did a ghost tour, and it scared the living shit out of me for like years. It like, but that's kind of like where it like sunk its teeth into me though too at the same time, because I like couldn't.
Did you go into the vault?
Oh yeah, it was horrifying.
Oh, it's so spooky in there.
It's terrifying. I know. So anyways, I was telling you that tour guide that when I was with my kids, she was saying that green like is a color of spirits. And I remember we were in that like literary square that's in Edinburgh where where's what's it called? It has all the engravings of all the like Scottish authors over the centuries. I don't know what it's called.
Oh, I don't know.
It's like in an inner courtyard of Edinburgh, and it has engraved. It's right by the university.
Is it near the Royal Mile or Holyrood House?
Oh, yeah. It's right in Edinburgh University, but like off the Royal Mile. And there's like it's like probably one of the things only tourists get to see. And if you live there,
I've never been there.
You have no idea that it's there.
I just visited secondhand shops, vintage shops, and pubs when I go to Edinburgh.
Right, exactly. So it's like she was talking about J.K. Rowling and why she, because she's also commemorated here now, even though she's not Scottish, blah, blah, blah. They like
apparently
have
she
her.
wrote most of Harry Potter, the first one in
the White Elephant Cafe, and so she is recognized and has been sort of like adopted by the city. And so, but
because I think there was an influence with things like the diagonally in the buildings of all those little back streets of Edinburgh.
Yes, and Hogwarts is based on the kids of where the school that her children go now. Actually, because when she was writing the story, she had no money at all. But the elementary school that's right outside the gates of Greyfriars Cemetery, And Kirk is the school that Hogwarts is based off of.
Oh,
it has
really?
the same. You need to do more tourist tours when you're in Edinburgh. It's fascinating. But this, going back to the green and spirits, was she was saying that green is used a lot in the Harry Potter stories as like it's associated with spirits and ghosts, and that has its roots in like the actual apparitions and spirits and ghosts that are like in the city that are viewed by, you know, normal people seeing ghosts or whatever. But green is such a color associated with that. It is super interesting. So the Ben Nighe is often seen wearing either white or a green shroud. So she's called, another name is called washing woman, a washing woman or washer at the ford. And
imagine being dead and your purgatory is, and I know that this is like a really inane thing to constantly think of. I always think when I'm dead and I become a ghost, or if I become a ghost, there are certain things I'd be really pissed off if I was made to do those things repeatedly. Obviously if you're going to be a ghost, it would be quite nice to be a ghost in a big nice house and not a ghost in a really horrible dank ruined castle that's not very comfy and so on. But can you imagine being a ghost and having to wash clothes all day?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because there is more to the laundry aspect of this that I find super interesting. So one is that this is so weird. So if you're a woman and you've had a baby and you've died in childbirth, but you're caught up on your laundry, you will not become a washerwoman.
Okay, that's starting to sound really sexist now. It's like, you had better make sure that you keep all the laundry up to date.
Look at my notes. Look at my notes. My notes go, what the say? It says, what the fuck? I said, and I just have, that is some male made up shit.
That is some male made up shit. It's like,
because remember
that you need to make sure that you do. I've just totally broken my no laugh rule. Sorry.
I haven't even gotten to the funny part yet, but this is right. This is straight up from the Wikipedia page. It says, so it says it literally is believed that their fate to wash their dirty laundry could be avoided if all the clothing left by the deceased woman had been washed.
And ironed and folded and put away.
And so if she wasn't
they served their husband breakfast in bed.
It literally says, otherwise she would have to finish this task after death. So can you imagine being 9 months pregnant in the year, 1302, and you have this pile, because you have like 8 other barns to take care of, and you have this,
and you haven't got a washing machine that you can just bung them in and switch it on. You have to go to the river and scrub with one of those wooden scrubbers, and you don't even have proper soap,
and your husband's standing over and he's like, you better wash that, because if your laundry's not done, you're gonna be a washerwoman at the ford. She's like, okay, and she just like runs out and tries to catch up so she doesn't have to be a ghost. Like, it's terrifying.
Oh, that is so awful. That is so awful.
Crap is what that is. It actually makes me literally mad because I hate laundry.
What I would like to know, but I'm sure that there isn't, if there was a similar threat against men.
Oh yeah. Why are the ghosts never men? It's not like men are out there for washing things.
You don't make sure that all of the shelves are put up on time and you've brought home food every day, you're gonna end up being a ghost that has to build shelves every
right. That's right. Get her done. You're gonna be a ghost for the rest of your life.
You're gonna be punished in hell, and
oh my god,
your ghost is going to have to constantly be pumping up the tires of the car.
Shut Sean and
I have this really, I'm like, yeah, my gender division here, tasks, awful.
No, this is so funny. So Sean and I have this, we decided when we, like this, like early on in our marriage, I don't even know how long we've been married, 18 years or something. So we decided way early on that there was, we were going to divide tasks as though it was 1950. So there's like a clear division between like the man's task, which is like fixing the washing machine and like doing the air in the tires and like, you know, all that crap. And then there was like the women's stuff, which is like, you know, do the laundry and whatever. And we just decided it was going to just be 1950. And that was just it. But it's hilarious because it comes up at least once a week to this day. I'll be like, oh, I'm like, my battery's dead in my car key fob. Like, 1950s, like, you have to change it. And I'll be like, damn it, that is a man's job. I'll be like, yes, like it comes up like surprisingly a lot, like all these little tasks that we can deem, and we weirdly never disagree on them. Like we just.
Well, I have to say that my mom and dad were like that. There was a clear gender division in that my mom did all the cooking, cleaning, housework type things, and my dad did all the things that I thought were maybe a bit more fun and actually didn't have to be repeated on a daily basis as well. Those kinds of jobs you're not having to do every single day. There's not a grind to them.
Right. You don't only fix the dryer once and then you're
fix
done.
The
for like
car, make sure that the windows are painted.
Right, exactly.
All that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then when you're single, like me, you don't have anyone to fob jobs off onto.
I feel bad for you that you can't call it and be like, nope, not it. 1950s. No. I'm sorry. If I was there, I would do your man 1950s jobs for you.
Well, I would rather someone cooked for me every day, and I could do man 1950s jobs. Actually,
I could use a sister wife. I would be okay with that.
Yeah.
Help out with my 1950s women stupid jobs. They're the worst. And then I just end up not doing them because I'm like, I don't really like that.
Not washing the clothes anymore. I'm quite happy to become a Bean Nighe when I die. It's fine because I'll be dead, so I won't really care whether I'm having to wash my clothes over and over. And I bet they don't even become clean. I bet it's the same.
Oh yeah. Well, no, actually, that's the next. Well, actually, Lucy, this is actually where this is the creepy part. This is not yet the funny part. This is actually the creepy part because actually what she's washing is actually super important because the clothes that she is washing, whoever's clothes those are, is going to die. Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. Super creepy. And so they're always like bloody clothes. They're not just like dirty with a grass stain. They're like literally bloody clothes. So if you sneak up on her, there's so much to this thing. So if you sneak up on her and you notice, say that the clothes are from your closest enemy, you're like, sweet, keep washing, my friend. Like, wash it up. And then you just leave. And then you're like, awesome. Like, you know, my mortal enemy is off my hands because they are going to go farewell. However, if you sneak up and you see that those clothes, let's say, are yours, there are some ways.
Can you do anything to prevent it?
You can't. You can.
Can you take them and put them in the nearest washing machine and say, look, they're clean now?
So you can in some, and it depends on the whatever Scottish Isle that you're on, the story will differ. But if you simply, in some isles, if you get between her and the water source, like if she's on her way to go to laundry and you get between them, then that is just simply enough to stop her.
Okay, I've got this image in my head of this woman with a basket of bloody clothes and this person kind of dancing around the shore, playing tag, going to the left and the right and going, no, you can't get past. You can't get past.
Oh, no. You're going to say, oh, no.
laugh at this subject. It's hilarious.
Oh, you don't even know. We haven't not even remotely gotten to the funny
There's
part
an
yet.
awful lot of stories, I think. Maybe not an awful lot. I'm over exaggerating. But remember back to the Bransseer, and there was that thing of the ghost and the woman stopping the ghost from getting past.
Yes. And they were like mean, remember? And I was like, oh, I never thought of like being a bitch to the ghost. And actually that helped me when I was in Savannah at the haunted hotel. I was like, all right, I gotta get like my mean face on. So when the ghost comes, I'm gonna like whip out my bitch face and like see if it works. Like, I don't even know. So that's one way. Another way is that if she is so absorbed in her washing, and often there's singing accompanying as well, that sometimes you can capture her. And then if you can seize hold of her, and this is direct from Wikipedia, so it's true. If you can hold of her after
that's where I do most of my research.
Right? I start and end all my searches with Wikipedia with a stealthy approach. Then she will reveal to you who is about to die. And she will also grant you 3 wishes.
Oh, wow.
So she's a pretty powerful laundress, I have to say.
Is she, sorry if I'm skipping ahead. It's just a question that occurred to me. Is she bound to be doing this for eternity, or?
That's actually an awesome question, Lucy. She is actually back. So remember, she's someone who had died during childbirth.
And without having her washing done?
Having finished her laundry as the slacker that she so clearly was. She actually is bound to be a Ben Nighe up until the age that she would have died naturally. Had she not died in childbirth. That's an excellent question.
Oh my goodness. Do you know, why do us Scots make such
so many details?
It's not just there's this ghost that wanders around the countryside. It's like all these rules. And there's so complicated.
There's a backstory. There's like multiple
it's like the 14th century version of a movie, really, isn't it?
It really, really is. Okay, so
or soap opera.
So the humorous part that I personally think is humorous, and maybe it's just me, is actually what she looks like, because we haven't even talked about that yet.
Oh yeah. So
banshees interestingly are supposed to be beautiful. They're like absolutely beautiful, interestingly, because in DC Comics and in Hollywood versions, banshees are terrifying. And
ugly, I thought they were terrifying.
So they're not, however, they're not. They're supposed to be beautiful.
Because I guess most women who die in childbirth
banshees don't die
young. But okay,
no,
they're
banshees
different.
That's how like they really are super different. That's why I wanted to bring them up. And the Ben Nighes are actually they're a whole new level of ugly that you did not even see coming. So on the Isle of Skye, they're actually supposed to be squat and small, like a gross, small, pitiful child is the quote.
So they don't look like the person that died.
No, see that, and this is the part that doesn't make sense to me. And this is the part that I feel like becomes rather fey, because it's almost like they transform into something else. And it's very specific what they look like. And this is what I don't understand. No one is talking about. And this is it. One is that where is my amazing page that sums it up so nicely? They have a single nostril, not 2, just 1.
Oh my God, where did that come from?
They have a single protruding tooth, like a big old buck tooth that's like coming out of their face.
Are you gonna paint one of these for our book?
Dude, you don't even know. I literally all week I'm like, I need time to do the Ben Nighe sketch. I need to make time to do the Ben Nighe sketch. I'm literally like obsessed with doing the sketch of this person. I'm gonna do it.
The nostril? Is it underneath the nose, or is it like on the front? Like
that remains to be seen.
Or does it look like a normal nose with just one closed up? Why would a single nostril is the most random, bizarre thing I've ever heard.
Literally, like, and I quote, one large buck tooth. Just one tooth hanging out like Bugs Bunny. Okay, and then this is the part that I don't understand. No one is like pontificating about, which is that her breasts are so long. They're so long that they get in the way that she slings them over her shoulder and they're like draped down over her back. Like, that's the most horrific, disgusting thing that no one is talking about on any other podcast or show.
Oh my God, that made me cough. That
is disgusting. That is disgusting. Okay, no, but it's worse. It gets worse. It's
you know, I
like
have this weird, vague memory of.
I'm like literally scared of what you're about to say right now.
Some kind of song about slinging breasts over your shoulder.
No. Oh yeah. Do your boobs hang low? Do they hang low through? Can you tie him in a knot? Can you tie him in a bow? Can you throw them over your shoulder? Like a continental? Do your boobs hang low like the Bean Nighe? We just, oh my God, I bet you that song is based on her.
It must be.
It must be. There is no explanation. Good call, Lucy. Didn't see that. See that coming. Good call.
That is the weirdest visual.
Okay, but can I just say that I'm not even done? And no one talks about that. These podcasts, they just glaze over that like it's the most normal thing in the world. But that is not all. So we talked earlier about ways. Oh my God, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. Just take a sip and get ready to die.
Okay, here's my gin.
Okay, because you had asked me earlier. Is there any way to prevent the Bean Nighe from her doing her duties or preventing her from washing, say, your clothes? Like, oh my God, those are my clothes. They have blood on them. I don't want to die. How can I stop?
You could always go naked, so you never had any clothes, and then you wouldn't have any clothes to wash, so she wouldn't be able to wash any clothes.
But there's an easier way, and I'm going to tell you what it is.
Yeah, because you wouldn't actually want to go naked in Scotland. It's too cold.
No, are you ready? Are you ready for this? Oh God, I don't even want to say it out loud.
Come on.
It's horrific.
Hit me up.
Oh God. Oh,
please.
God. I'm scared. I might have to read it because it's so disgusting and disturbing.
Tell us.
Okay, you ready? Makes me nauseous a little. Okay. I'm not sure you're ready for this.
Yeah, I am. I'm ready.
And this is the sentence that I read that I was like, oh my God, we need to talk about this. Okay, you ready?
Is there an elephant in the room?
Okay, so imagine you're at the ford, okay? You're at the stream and you see...
At the burn. Call it a burn.
Okay. Or the burn.
Burn.
And you see this old, pitiful lady and she's wearing a green...
Boobs.
No, her boobs are slung over her shoulder.
Over her shoulder.
Yeah.
One buck tooth, one nostril.
And I forgot to mention she has webbed feet also.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So she's hanging out and you see that those are your clothes. So you're like, holy shit. So you know what you can do? It works every time. It's in the folklore. Okay,
we're all on the edge of our seat here, Karen.
Okay,
come on, you've got to get
a drink. I need a drink. Hold on.
Everyone listening at home, our two followers are going to be like, come on.
Okay, it's just so gross. I don't even want to say it out loud. Okay, you have to tiptoe up to her. Okay. Don't make me say it, Lucy.
Yes, say it. Be brave.
Okay. You have to. You have to put your mouth around her loose, long breast and start suckling from her breast that is slung over her shoulder.
Oh my God, that's so disgusting. Who came up with this shit?
It's disgusting.
Who came up with that? that.
But there is an upside, at least, which is that she will think that you're her foster child. And so then you're good. That's all you have to do.
She won't kill you.
You just have to suckle from her breast. That's so...
Do you think that a man made all of this up so that he could get his wife to do the laundry on time? That was a really big amount of work that he put in. He did a whole backstory with all of the disgusting stuff just so that he wouldn't have to do his own laundry.
I just can't unsee you gagging. It's too funny. Okay,
that's disgusting.
Disgusting. Oh my god! But then, like, you're good. So I guess, like,
I think I would just risk it and die.
I would definitely rather die. I'd be like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm tapping
you can
out.
Keep my clothes. Yeah, you can keep them.
They are pretty bloody. Just go ahead and wash them out. I'm good.
I'll just try and dodge death for as long as it takes till whatever it is that comes and gets me.
Your face is freaking hilarious. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Just everyone watching this on YouTube, it's so much funny. Like, I want to go back and watch your face. Oh my god. So that's what I'm talking about. So,
oh my goodness. I did not know that this podcast episode was going to take that turn when we start off.
So I'm reading this and I'm like, oh, we need to talk about this. So, but that's what I mean. I've listened to so many things. I've watched so many YouTube videos and no one even pauses at that part. And I'm like, wait a second. We need to talk about
that. That is just the most bizarre thing I've ever heard.
Is bizarro. Right. Oh, and
weird. You would think that an easier solution, well, I guess if she's a fae and she's a part ghost, you couldn't just go and, like, you know, slit her throat or stab her. You'd think that would be an easier solution, or you think it'd be easier to go and steal the clothes and run away. But then maybe the clothes are ghost clothes as well. So
you actually have to be super careful because. Hang on a second. Hold on. I need to go back through my notes. There is a thing. Well, okay, hold on. First up, I do have to say, when I was reading this, I'm like, this just sounds ridiculous. Like, are there any stories to back this up? Like, I don't want is it just theory? Or these just crazy ballads that have been passed on orally over the centuries, and there's no actual historical stories to back any of this up.
Are there similar stories from all over Scotland, or is it in the Highlands mostly?
No, it's actually it is all over Scotland. It's mostly, well, the Isles seem to have the most fucked up things like associated with them. But also there's actually a variation in France. And they're also, I know, so it's not just Scotland, which, like, is creepy because it kind of, like, there's a French equivalent. And it's and I can't find it in my notes. But anyways, back to the historical, like, having an actual real event that occurred, which there was a major one. It took place in 1742. Where my notes are like a hot mess. My nerd binder is letting me down. Right, true. I didn't even think about that. Yes, there was an actual real person who came across one of these Ben Nighes who had over 30 bloody shrouds. They were like minding their own business, walking in the woods, came up on the stream and saw an old washerwoman who had no fewer than, I think it was like 36 or something.
Oh my goodness.
Of bloody shrouds that she had laid all next to her that were like drying on like up on the shore next to her, and she was just toiling away and toiling away. That same day in the same town, there was a fire in the roof of this, I think it was a church. And oh, here it is. Yeah, it was a church. And it was an abbey roof, and it collapsed and it killed over 50 people
Oh my
in the same town that
goodness.
this happened. So they really think that she was like an omen of this was really about to come. So that's like really creepy. And
Ooh,
then
that
this,
is super creepy.
I know. And then that's also not, I mean, that's a long time ago, but that's not like some of these stories, you know, are like the 800s or something where
Yeah,
it's
not
like, who knows what they were eating and smoking back
and
then. But like,
was she described as the, you know,
yes,
over the shoulder boobs and everything?
They don't talk about her breasts in this particular story.
Why not?
That is not mentioned. But they talk. It's a very well documented story, and it's a very specific
I
abbey.
wonder if there was an instance of one before Culloden.
Oh, well, actually, Culloden reminded me of Glencoe, which we were talking about earlier in this insane episode. That is episode 7, which is actually brings me to talk about another Scottish folklore female water spirit, which is called the Caoineag. And I did look that up, pronunciation. Thank you so much.
Go and say it again.
Caoineag, also known as Caointeach.
Okay.
So this is another female spirit, and this I think is super interesting and totally ties back into the Glencoe Massacre, which you're talking about, which is that prior to the Glencoe Massacre, we'll cover that in its own episode, but basically, a long story short, the Campbells were hosted by the MacDonald clan for like 2 weeks. They were like snowed in, and by the Highland hospitality rule is that like no matter what is happening and what is going on, if a neighboring clan comes to your door and asks for help or hospitality, like you are to roll out the red carpet for them and feed them, drink them, give them shelter, give them a place to stay, like take care of them until they go on their way. Like that was like the rule in the Highlands back in 1692, which is when this massacre occurred. So there was like an ordinance by the king at the time, and I can't freaking remember the king, but whatever. He was like, everyone has to sign their allegiance to me by this date. And the MacDonalds were 2 days late signing this decree. And so the king was pissed. I wish I could remember his name. And he was like, we need to make an example. These people are 2 days late. So Campbells were loyal to the king. They were like, you need to go and you need to murder every single like man, wife, and child who is in this clan to make an example of them, because everyone here needs to swear loyalty to us. So it was like a wintry night. The Campbells arrived at the MacDonald's home, and because of the Highland hospitality rule, they like let them in, and they dined together and they danced and they partied and were best friends for like, it was something like 2 weeks or so. It was a very extended period of time. And at the morning of the what it was actually the 13th. I think it was the 13th of February, 1692.
It was King James II, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I am killing my facts right now.
Actually, I think he must have been the son of King James I, who was the son of Mary, Queen of Scots.
Thank you. Yeah, we need to do so many episodes on all of this.
Yeah.
So on the morning, as was decreed by the king, they slaughtered the head of the MacDonald clan, was murdered in his sleep.
Oh,
and
it's
then
so nasty.
They tracked down and murdered like everyone else that they could get their hands on. However, interestingly enough, many nights before this happened on the 13th, the Caoineag spirit, there was one. So they're very similar to the Banshees in that they're attached to specific families.
Okay.
So the MacDonald family had their own Caoineag. Now they are always heard and very rarely seen, like very rarely
it's like a singing, isn't it? Almost
it
like
is. It's very much like the Banshee in that it's like a warning of something is to come.
You know, to interrupt briefly, I spent quite a bit of time one summer. I spent a whole summer on a Native American reservation when I was in my early 20s.
What?
And they told me it was the Blackfeet in Montana. It was amazing.
Oh my God, that
And
sounds amazing.
I stayed with a family there, and I worked for them and did a lot of research for my dissertation, which was all about Native American beadwork. And they told me that owls were a proponent of death.
Yes.
And the sound of the owl
Yes.
crying would signify coming of somebody dying or something bad happening like that. And the reason why I learned about that when I was there was that we would hear an owl at night. Mm-hmm. And there was actually a member of the tribe who, it was actually the chief of the tribe. His granddaughter was quite ill at the time. And so the family that I was staying with were telling me, because we went to healing ceremonies for her and all kinds of, I mean, it's absolutely fascinating, and it's got nothing to do with Scotland, so I'm not going to talk about
but
it.
I'm glad you brought this up, because I actually have something super relevant that will bring us back
that's really similar to this idea of this woman wailing in the sound, isn't it?
You know, it's I'm actually so glad you brought that up, because first of all, just to put a bow on the relevancy of the Caoineag, which is that they said this has been recorded that for nights and nights before that massacre happened on the 13th, the Clan MacDonald heard that sound.
And can you imagine hearing it and knowing that something was going to happen?
No, but some people did. They left because they heard that they like lived to tell the tale about it, saying like, we left and heard and got away, and then the rest of our clan was massacred.
Oh my
so that
goodness.
gave you know, credibility to the existence of this thing.
Yeah, I'd heard about that Glencoe Massacre, and I always just heard it was a banshee, but obviously it's not.
It's not. Yeah, it's hard.
And but I didn't know the details of it.
Yeah. So I'm so glad you brought the owls up, because when I was listening to one of these podcasts about actually I was trying to learn about the Irish Banshee, the podcasters, she was doing all of the like the sort of folklore you know, like reciting the homework that she had done, much like we're doing here. Like, this is what I discovered and these are the tales. And she was like, I actually just want to pause here because I have my PhD in blah, 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 something. She was like, honestly, I think that barn owls were super, they were just really common back in, they're like very rare. I don't know if they're extinct or if they're endangered now, so that you hardly ever hear them. But she was like, back during that time period, barn owls were really, really common. And that screeching of the barn owl sounds almost exactly like a woman keening. And she was like, I'm guessing, not to put like an annoying scientific bent on this, but she was like, I'm guessing or wondering if some of that, you know, that like harrowing screeching sound that you hear in the middle of the night, like was what she's like, I'm wondering if some of that is just barn owls and they just signified or got so closely associated with the banshee and other of these spirits of the night, which makes perfect annoying
but it's so
sense.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
But it's Native still American tribe in Montana have this same kind of.
That's super cool.
Folklore.
Yeah, right.
And it's funny because it really ingrained in my brain. Yeah. And so where I live, we do hear owls sometimes.
We do too.
And actually, me and some of my friends sometimes go at night to hang out at nearby Stone Circle,
which is super scary.
And it's dark and it's in the middle of nowhere and it's dark outside and it's beautiful there. There was one night that we were there where we were just lit by moonlight. We sometimes have a tiny little fire.
Oh, I want to be there
but
with
there
you.
was an owl circling up above and screeching, and everybody else sees that as a wondrous thing.
Yeah.
And because I had that told to me when I
Yeah.
was in my early 20s,
You're like,
the
"I'm gonna
first thought
die."
in my head is, this is a bad omen. This is a bad omen.
That's so funny. I would have
Yeah.
totally thought the same thing. I know. All these ideas.
I mean, I love hearing owls at night, but
Yeah.
there's a part of me that also can't help but link it to that element of the folklore.
For sure. Plus, if you think about it, there's no, it's 1692. There's no electricity. And it's your winter nights in Scotland, in the Highlands. What time does
Freezing.
and also what time does the sun go down?
Like
So
2:30 in the afternoon.
right? I mean, it's dark for hours of your whole 24 hours of the day.
In winter, it's only light in winter from maybe 9 or 10 in the morning till about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Crazy.
And in Glencoe is such a barren piece of land.
Oh my God, it's
the
so
hills are
though.
super high.
So beautiful.
There's even now when you go through it,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of buildings and anything. But back then there wouldn't have been a road like there is now going
I
through
know.
it.
And can you imagine just hearing that screeching in the middle of the night? I mean, that would be harrowing.
I know.
Of course. So, I mean, it's just the whole thing just takes me back right to there and just to imagine.
Yeah.
So I just thought that the whole idea of, I just had to mention one thing while we're talking about this. Caointeach, which again is just another version of the death spirit. This was in Islay. This is extra. Islay. Sorry, did I say that?
Is that an island you're talking about?
It's an actual island with a capital Islay. It's a Scottish.
I think you would pronounce it Islay.
Sorry, I'm so
It's
bad.
okay. That's what I'm here for, Karen.
I know.
Pronounce your bad Scottish words. I
American.
actually was really holding back when you were saying Edinburgh.
I feel like an imposter if I say Edinburgh. Like I feel like a super loser. So I can't do it. Well, how do you want me to say it? I'll say it.
I know. It's just like how I feel really stupid when I try and say, tomato.
When you want to say tomato. You're so cute. I wish I could hug you. So what's extra terrifying though about this creature who sounds like a barn screeching owl and who is an omen of death is that if you interrupt her, however, and this is recounts in quite a few stories that she will, because she too is often washing linens of those who are about to die, she will lash out at you, like whip her wet clothes. First of all, that hurts like hell. Just, if anyone, if you've ever had that done to you, but also if she hits you with a wet linen, you lose the use of your legs.
Oh
she
my
literally
God.
like kick your ass basically.
Oh my goodness.
I know. So don't mess with her. Like if you hear her or you see her, you do not.
What do? You run away?
Leave her alone. You run away so you don't get massacred. Yeah, she's not messing around.
She's singing for someone in general, not particularly you.
Yes.
So you're best to leave her alone because you could dodge that bullet.
Well, and I feel like she's issuing like a warning almost, like she is telling what is to come, so you don't mess with her.
I know this is a total sidestep. Did they have banshees in any Buffy episodes? I feel like they had banshees in Buffy episodes.
Quick Google, we'll find out. Not sure.
I know that's got absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about.
I need to go rewatch some of those. Can I just tell you though, look at this crazy picture. The pictures of other people's pictures.
My goodness.
Look at her
boobs. You are listening and not watching, this woman has crazy long boobs.
Look at that face.
And her face is
Terrifying. With her one buck tooth and her one nostril.
Oh,
you better do your laundry, bitch. That's all I have to say.
Do you think
Catch
the
up on your
washing?
laundry.
Do you think the washing of shrouds has also got something to do with the shroud that somebody would be placed in when they die to be buried in? Is it like their burial shroud?
No, that's a good question. It just said it was very obvious, like to make sure you check out whose clothes she's watching.
Do they have name tags sewn into them?
Yep. In Sharpie, just on the tag.
Because let's face it, in 1692 or 1742 or right? Whenever, in Scotland, I could probably almost guarantee, even though I haven't visited there myself, that 99% of the general population all wore the same clothes. It's not like you had
saying that,
Primark down the street that you could go and you could say, I fancy having a pink dress today.
Okay, no.
So how would you tell it was
disagree.
your clothes?
I disagree completely. You would tell it's your clothes because you probably you either made them yourself. So you
that's
toiled
true.
over them, or your mother made them for you. Yeah. So you would know every stitch like the back of your hand.
Yeah,
so actually
right.
It's probably the opposite of that, where every piece is handmade and hand sewn. And
but all I mean is that you would know that if you were close up, but from a distance, a shift would look like a shift. And
but you just have to go and suck her breast and you're good. So don't even worry about it. You have nothing to worry about.
Oh my, why did you have to come back to that?
You just latch on and
I'm damaged forever already. Why did you have to remind me?
You just have to make sure you have to make sure your latch is on and then you're good.
You guys, you realize that me and Karen record this, it's like afternoon for her, but it's actually nighttime. It's like bedtime because of the time difference. So she's terrified the living daylights out of me. I'm going to be going to bed with this image in my head of this weird creature.
Okay, but I'm literally going to do art. I want to sketch this girl so bad. I want to sketch it. I got to sketch it. And it's got to have the guy like latched on behind her with the eyebrows being like, is this good? Like, am I good now? And she'll be like, all right, maybe now I won't kill you. Like face on her, like
with her one tooth and her one nostril.
With her boob like slung, like I have it all planned out in my head. I can see it. I
can't wait to see it.
I know, and I'm sorry. I apologize for not having it ready. I've just had a lot on my plate this week with my dad.
Yeah, you better get that done.
But that sketch is so coming. Maybe I can have it by the time I post on our amazing blog. Which is literally like YouTube video, podcast, done. No words at all. But yeah.
All it needs to be.
So let's just boil it down to the important stuff.
Yeah.
Let's cut to the chase, my friends. We're all busy. Here you go. Boom. Yeah.
That is just so fascinating.
Right?
It's just like how you said last week about changelings, that you knew this changelings and then this like tiny little thing about them, like switched at birth babies or whatever, and nothing else.
Right.
I was the same with, I always call them banshees. So there's a start, because I didn't really realize that there was like the Bean Nighe, which were different. And then the one from Glencoe was a whole different one. But I knew that they were portent. Is that the right word? Is that the right word?
Important.
Like a bringer, someone who, I'm sure the word is portent of death, but I might be actually
of death. I didn't even hear you say
speaking
that.
Absolute rubbish. I knew that. I knew that they're foretold death and that they were a woman. And I think I was aware of the washing of the clothes thing, but I wasn't sure. I didn't know anything about why. And everything else is absolutely brand new to me. That was
Yeah.
so fascinating.
I feel the same way. I was like, what is this? And that's what I keep finding too. I've just every night so normally for the last 25 years of my life, I can't sleep unless I read a fiction novel. I have to read just a story because I need to like turn the channel of my head, like turn off my day thoughts, turn off my mom thoughts, turn off all the thing. And it helps me kind of like turn the channel and sorry, this weird sounds coming from my outer door. And it really helps me just like turn the channel so I can like cut off whatever's happening in my head and I can get to sleep. And like I've been doing that like religiously for 25 years. And since we have started this podcast, I instead now just devour these dictionaries of fairies and these, the fairies in tradition and literature and this the I cannot get enough. It's so interesting. It is so interesting. And there's like there's like hundreds of species and just the specifics that they can get down to is unbelievable to me. It's so amazing. I love it. It's fascinating. I just love it to bits and I can't wait to just keep talking about it. It's so freaking fascinating. It's so much, the well is so much deeper than I ever thought. I mean, I've always
knew that we were going to
no
get
idea.
into nipples over the shoulder and
who knew? You could latch on and save your life. Like I didn't know that was a thing. Now I know. It's like a new life skill. I'm like ready to go.
And if you made sure your laundry was up to date, you'd be good anyway.
Yeah.
So you know what? That's out the window for me because
I'm gonna die. No, not even remotely.
The dirty washing goes in a basket and then it goes in the machine eventually, and then it comes out the machine and it ends up in the same basket. And then I weigh it from the basket, and none of it actually makes its way to wardrobes and drawers.
I got you so beat because I have 3 children. So Matt, perfect example. 10 o'clock last night, my youngest Max comes to me and he says, "Mom," he says, "one of the cats shat in my bed." What? I go, no, they didn't. I was like, I said, no, they didn't. I said, I heard personally one of the cats barfing up a hair barrel earlier. And I wondered to myself, I wonder where that is happening. And I was like, so now I know. And it was in your bed. And I was like, oh, damn it. Because it's so late. He should really be in bed by 9:30. So I was like, oh, dude. I'm like, and he sleeps with like 953 stuffed animals. So when it's like change my sheet, it's really like,
he's gonna love you for this call.
Spend an hour changing
like
out
15
my 953 stuffed animals. So I'm like, so you know what he says to me? I was like, oh yeah, there's a hairball in your bed. I'm like, do you want me to wash? I'm like, I will of course wash these. I was like, but for tonight, give me it's gonna take forever to change out your 953 animals and a new sheet and bedding. He's like, that's okay. I'll just sleep on my beanbag under my bed because he's a loft bed. And here's me. I'm all right, great. Shut the door. I'm like, good night.
Mom of the year. I thought you were gonna say, like, we'll just put like a towel down on top of it, and then you won't notice. That was my next move. But I think I did that.
He's basically like, I'll sleep on the floor. I'm like, sweet. No work involved. I'm out. Good night. Works for me.
I think I might have pulled that trick a few times. We'll just put a towel down over it, and then we'll sort that out tomorrow.
It's not going anywhere. It's fine.
And if you can't see it anymore, then it doesn't count.
It doesn't even exist. I was like, I'm tired. Oh, you're gonna go to bed there? Great. Good night. Meanwhile, that just reminds me, I've only washed his comforter. It's 5 p.m. and I still have to put that in the dryer and then go get his sheet and do all the things.
My goodness.
And then I'm like, can you just maybe sleep in that 2 nights in a row? I'm just saying. Okay, in his defense, though, in my defense, the bean bag that he slept on is literally like 7 feet wide. It's enormous.
That actually sounds super comfy. I think I would quite like to sleep.
Like
do you know what I want
pillow.
as a bed, Karen? Before we like stop speaking about all this crap for too long, but like we won't bore you with her. Do you know what I really want is, I don't know if your cats have these, but my cat has this, it's called like an igloo bed or something.
Yeah, I know
and
exactly what you're talking about.
It's furry, so I know that furry said in Scottish sounds really funny,
so
but
cute. Furry.
It's that fleecy stuff, and it's enclosed, and then inside is a furry cushion, a fleecy furry cushion, and he climbs into it and he sleeps in there. And whenever I see him sleeping there, all I can think of is, I want a human size one of those.
I know. That's basically his beanbag, but without the top. But the whole bottom
but
situation.
It's the whole top thing.
I know.
That
so
like being enclosed in this thing and climbing in, and there only being a small opening, and it being all furry all the way around. You guys won't have had these kinds of beds because America, so it's probably a bit different, but
I'm offended.
In Scotland, not now, but obviously 100 years ago, 200 years ago, whatever, you saw one at Crathis Castle when we were at Crathis Castle together.
With the big
those box beds that are, it's like you climb it into a cupboard and there's doors on it. That is my ideal bed, that you can shut the door and you're inside.
Oh, that's a little weird.
Really?
Yeah. It's like a Harry Potter closet.
I think it would be so cozy.
It would be a little cozy. Well, Max's situation is a little like that because his bean bed is shoved under his bed because his other bed is like a loft bed because his room is so small. The loft bed is raised up so he can have more room in his room under it.
Is that the one the cat puked in?
That's right. But he slept under it in his bean bag, so it's okay.
Yeah, he's good. There's nothing coming over him.
Builds grit.
You know, kids used to sleep up chimneys and things.
Yeah, whatever. So, they're fine. One thing I do remember from talking about when you were talking about the ghost of Crathis Castle, one thing I distinctly remember about having the tour of that castle was learning about the little servant boys who used to sleep in the little nooks of the windows that were the side of that, like lined the side of the castles, and they would have a little sleeping nook, and that's where they would like cozy up at night. Do you remember that? I never heard of that before I went to Crathis Castle.
The kinds of places that people used to sleep.
Little servant children.
So uncomfortable as well. Because they're in days gone by, there used to be these, I saw it in some TV program a while ago, there used to be these places where people, say you were a factory worker or whatever, and you didn't have very much money and you didn't have your own house, you could rent a space to sleep.
Oh, really?
And it would rotate, so somebody else would get the space, so you didn't have your own house and you didn't have your own room. But it was literally, wasn't even a bed. It was like a rope that you would lean over and the rope would stop you from falling.
What?
And you would lean over this rope and you would sleep leaning over this rope.
So you rented a rope over which you could drape yourself?
Yes. To sleep.
What are you talking about?
This is like, I don't know, like the early 1800s maybe or something.
And where is this located?
Like slums in cities. You know, almost like Oliver Twist type times.
Just a rope. I'll be tuppence for a rope.
Yeah. like we're talking, Oliver Twist, Fagin, that kind of thing. They would have a rope that they would lean over and they would sleep. So they weren't even getting to lie in a bed with a mattress and a duvet and a memory foam and on a pillow and all the comfort
Are
that
you
we have.
making this up completely? I have
No, I am not making it
in my
up.
life
Google
talked
it.
about
Google it.
a rope.
Google.
What do I even Google? Sleep rope? What is that even called? What is that called? How do you Google that? Can you rent? Or I'm doing it. Can you rent a sleep rope in 1800s?
Use that if you say that.
Oh, wait. Oh my God.
Did it give you something?
Oh my God, it did.
I told you.
It did.
I told you.
Victorian 2-penny hangover.
Yeah.
Oh my God, a Victorian slum house.
Holy
shit. It's called.
You doubted me, but I came through.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy?
Okay, my mind is literally a little bit blown right now because I've never. Oh my!
Think how awful that is.
Because that's where the term hangover comes. Okay, I was about to actually be like, we need to cut this last 10 minutes of the podcast because what are we even talking about?
I know. Cat puke.
But, however, according to this website, the term hangover is universally understood to mean the disproportionate suffering that comes after a night of overindulgence. But where does the term actually come from? One possible explanation is somewhat strangely Victorian England. During the Victorian era, the practice of paying for a 2-penny hangover, I think this is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Was incredibly popular among the country's homeless population, and the term 2-penny hangover was so commonly used that it was made its way into contemporary literature.
Oh, I didn't know that. So that's where the word hangover comes from. Because you'd have to sleep over this rope and it'd be so uncomfortable that you feel really rough the next day.
It says
and probably in Victorian England, you're probably full of gin as well.
It says a 2-penny hangover is not the description of a very cheap night out, nor is it the amount it would cost you to get drunk in Victorian England. It is actually somewhere you could go to sleep if you were one of the thousands of homeless and destitute living in the country's main cities at the time, which is what you're talking about, the rope. If you lived on the streets and had managed to make some money during the day, depending on how much you had, you could spend the night in one of 3 ways: paying a penny to sit up, 2 pence to hang over the rope, or 4 or 5 pennies to lie down. Oh,
isn't that like we have it so easy? That's awful.
Why have I never?
I mean, I
complain heard of this.
I complain if I go somewhere where the mattress is a little bit different from my mattress at home, so I wake up with a sore back. Can you imagine having to sleep hanging over a rope?
Okay, this is fascinating.
I know, it's crazy.
This is like a whole nother episode. Holy cow, that's insane. That's you like a little bit blew my mind there. Sorry. I was like, what are
Glad
you
we're
talking
ending
about?
The episode on a high note there.
Awesome. Let's definitely touch base on that again. That's super interesting. Oh my God, no way. It's fascinating.
I know.
Oh, so cool.
And people used to only sleep. I know this episode wasn't about sleep, so I don't know how
we need to wrap it up. It's been a one.
They used to only sleep like a few hours at a time and then wake up in the middle of the night and have a whole session of being awake and then go back to sleep again.
Oh, I have heard about that as well, which kind of mimics like our natural actual rhythms, but we'll talk about that. I think we've gone on long enough.
We've gone off piste.
I have to pee. My dog is like banging down my door. It was such a fun.
Cat puke to clean
up. Cat puke laundry that I haven't even looked at. Plus,
I think I might even go and do my laundry just to make sure that all my dues are paid before I go to sleep.
And you feel dirty after my cat chat conversation. Oh my God, I know. Well, thanks for listening. That was the most fun
that was
ever.
So interesting,
so badly. So thanks for hanging out with us this week. Oh my God, and we'll see you guys next week for I literally have no idea. Do you know?
I might, but I might not see.
Okay, it's a secret. We'll see you next week.
Okay,
bye.
Bye.
Oh my God, that was the most fun ever.
That was amazing.
Oh,
Oh
I
my
gotta
god,
stop
the
my-
women